Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week. Most people seem to slow down once they become senior citizens and end up retiring from their careers around this same time. While most seniors take this time to relax, many choose to stay active. This is true for all of the people on this list who continue to participate in bodybuilding even though they are over 80 years old. Several of them still even compete and win. Let's talk about this legend in this video. Here are the 10 strong grandpas, and no one can beat them. Number 15. Manohar H. Fitness may not be everyone's favorite pastime, but you can't say that it doesn't help you to live a long and full life. Manohar H is proof of that. The former 4'11" bodybuilder lived until he was 104 before dying in 2016. You've certainly got to give his healthy lifestyle credit for that. Manohar H had a serious interest in strength sports throughout his life, but it wasn't until he was 12 years old and affected by a black fever that he really gained an interest in the sports world. His road to recovery involved physical fitness exercises, and it wasn't long before he was showing an interest in weightlifting and wrestling. During his younger years, Manohar mainly did calisthenics and bodyweight exercises. He then performed in magic shows where he would rest his stomach on swords, bend spears with his neck, and the more popular stunt bend steel with his teeth. He really got into bodybuilding when he joined the Royal Air Force. He had slapped a British officer and went to prison, where he started weight training for hours at a time. Jail authorities were so impressed that they gave him a special diet to help. From this point on, fitness and strength were his life. He started entering and winning competitions and earned the nickname of Pocket Hercules. Before moving to the next number, we just want small favor from you. Like and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get 1 week good luck for you. Try this, it really worked. Number 14. Frank Zane. Even though Frank Zane is reaching 80, you won't find too many men of the same or similar age who don't wish they had his body. You may not be able to tell through his clothes, but there's a chiseled, defined figure underneath with incredible muscles you'd think you'd only see on men half his age or younger. Frank was and remains a bodybuilding legend. He's won Mr. America and Mr. Universal titles, and more notably, he has beaten Arnold Schwarzenegger to some of his titles, which seems like an impossible feat. Frank has achieved his incredible physique without the need for enhancement drugs. He has simply put in the time and effort and keeps putting in the time and effort to be the picture of the magnificence he is today. But he doesn't keep his secrets to himself. He provides training seminar sessions known as the Zane Experience, so you can attempt to look like him as well. The Zane Experience incorporates all of his training philosophies, such as focusing on your weight set using the proper range of motion, focusing on quality, picture yourself, and learning appreciation. Number 13. Sam Bryant Jr. You hear of bodybuilders showing an interest in strength training before they even reach puberty. Sam Bryant Jr. is a little different, but just because he chose a different path in life, that doesn't mean he's on the back foot in the bodybuilding world. But just look at him, he's muscly, ripped and toned, and he's in his 70s. Yeah, that's right, he's probably old enough to be your granddad. Sam believes that age is a state of mind and that it makes you old. He said it's just a number, and it gives most people a reason to be lazy and not do anything. Sam started going to the gym when he was 44 as a form of stress relief to deal with his failing marriage. Less than a year later, other gym-goers were encouraging him to enter bodybuilding contests. So that's what he did. It has now been 3 decades and he's still well and truly in the zone. Weighing 176 pounds, Sam can mean deadlifting 405 pounds. His first competition was in Georgia, and he had never so much as attended a bodybuilding competition. He ended up winning a 3rd place as a novice, then 4th in the master. He was hooked from that point on. Number 12. Samir Banout. Samir Banout is known as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. When you see pictures of his physique, you're not gonna argue that fact. You could shred cheese on those abs. The Lebanese bodybuilder is now nearing his 70s, but that hasn't stopped him from living a long, full, and healthy life. Even if he is no longer bodybuilding today, he lives in Los Angeles with his wife and 2 children. He has several business interests which include supplement company marketing. The journey for Samir began in the 70s when he moved from Lebanon to America and settled in Detroit. He quickly became known as the Lion of Lebanon after he was crowned Mr. Michigan in 1978. The following year he came out on top in the Best of the World event and the light heavyweight division of the IFBB World Amateur Championships. With a fresh new IFBB Pro card in hand, he went on to make his pro debut at the Canadian Pro Cub. Throughout his successful pro career that spanned 17 years, he entered 53 contests. Number 11. Robbie Robinson. Robbie Robinson may be in his 70s, but he doesn't look a day over 40. In fact, his muscular physique doesn't even look like it belongs to him. Robbie is an American former pro bodybuilder who used to be called the Black Prince and Mr. Lifestyle. He entered over 300 competitions and didn't retire from the bodybuilding scene until he was 55 in 2001. When he entered the pro scene in 1975, he quickly picked up his first title as IFBB Mr. America, followed by Mr. Universe. And the wins didn't stop there either. Robbie won the first annual Night of the Champions and the first Masters Olympia. The man was sensational. Even in his 50s, he was taken out of bodybuilding events with what seemed like ease. Today he's not active in the bodybuilding scene, but he sure is active. He's a personal trainer, lifestyle and bodybuilding coach, actor, artist, and athlete. By the time he turned 70, he was also making guest posing appearances, which of course requires him to keep in shape. Does this man know what retirement means? Number 10. Spencer Churchill. Even in his 80s, you couldn't help but think that bodybuilder Spencer Churchill was a much younger man. His body was toned and tanned, and he didn't seem to have an ounce of body fat on him. He basically has the dream bod. But he wasn't just born with it. Achieving that level of greatness took a lot of hard work. Spencer was a wrestler and bodybuilder who achieved great success in the bodybuilding world in the late 40s. He took out 4th place in the 1951 Mr. Universe competition and quickly became known as Mr. Muscle Unlimited. He was also an incredible diver, which is probably due to just how fit he was. But Spencer wanted to do more, so at 20 years old he started wrestling and entered many competitions. Between winning bouts and bodybuilding competitions, like Britain's Best Developed Man, he wasn't a man you'd want to mess with. Spencer never did become a household name throughout his 2-decade career, but he was undoubtedly well respected. Many famous bodybuilders like Greg Trude and Bob Sweeney said Spencer had a massive influence on them. Number 9. Jacques Sayak. Jacques Sayak's life as a bodybuilder looks much different from that of other bodybuilders. He might have a similar physique and age to them, but that's where the similarities end. The proud grandfather in his late 50s is unhoused. He lives in a tent in a Paris park with his dog and has just a few possessions. He's had problems with alcohol abuse, and his life now is far different from what it was in his youth. Even though his life is rough, his body is exquisite. Jacques uses the Paris streets as his gym. He uses bungee ropes attached to railings to do bicep curls and belts from lamp posts for pull-ups. The pavement is his push-up paradise. Even though he can't afford to go to a gym, it's hard to tell that he hasn't been to one when you see him side by side with other bodybuilders. He enters competitions, and his latest was the IFBB France contest. No matter what hand you were dealt with or no matter your circumstances, it is possible to take care of your body and health and achieve personal goals. Number 8. Andreas Colling. Andreas Colling may be nearing 70, but you wouldn't know it by looking at him. He has a better body than most men half his age. It just goes to show what a good diet, exercise, and putting your health first can do. Andreas Colling is a bodybuilder, former wrestler, and judo champion. He's also often called a man with one of the best bodies in the senior IFBB pro world. I'm not going to contest the fact, he really does have a banging body. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, which you may call his prime, he won titles like Mr. Venice Beach. He was a favorite and everyone in the bodybuilding world knew his name. You might think he would just fade away into retirement, but he didn't. Instead, he made a comeback in 2011 with a body that looks like it never left the bodybuilding scene at all. Andreas competed throughout his teens all the way to his 70s in both wrestling and judo. Even as late as 2012, he was placing in elite competitions. In that year he ranked 16th in the IFBB Masters Olympic and Pro World. In the previous year, he gained 13th place in the IFBB Pro World Masters Championships. He's definitely not ready for a retirement village. Number 7. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger may be in his 70s, but you wouldn't know that by looking at him. He has a body of steel, and you'd have to haul out your spectacles to see any wrinkles or sagging skin. If you're not exercising every day, Arnold started entering and winning bodybuilding competitions at a young age. As we all know, that then led to a career in acting before he eventually became California's governor. Even in his 70s, Arnold still makes time to go to the gym. He may not be able to do all the things he used to, but he still has more muscle than other men his age. Way more, in fact. That probably has a lot to do with the sheer amount of hard work he has put in throughout his life to achieve some incredible honors and awards. He is a 7-time winner of Mr. Olympic, 4-time winner of Mr. University, the 1969 World Amateur Bodybuilding Champion, and he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, the International Sports Hall of Fame, and the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Wow, all our granddads really need to step it up a notch. Number 6. Bill Grant. Bill Grant is a bodybuilder, personal trainer, company director, and spokesperson born in 1946 and nearing 80 years old. Even for his almost 8 decades on Earth, this man looks in mighty fine shape. He used to be called the Man of Steel and probably still is. Bill started training to be a bodybuilder at 9 years old, and it's not an ambition he grew out of. It just got stronger until he became a household name. The American-born bodybuilder has many accomplishments under his belt, starting with a 6th placing in Mr. Olympia USA in 1968 and ending with a 13th placing in the 1988 IFBB Night of the Champions. He also won Mr. World at least twice, and the 1974 IFBB Mr. International as well. He may not be doing competitions anymore, but Bill Grant is still bodybuilding. You don't have to look too far to find pictures of his ripped body on the internet at age 71. The guy just doesn't seem to be the age, of course. Nutrition and fitness are why that's the case. He eats 4 to 5 meals daily with protein, carbs and fat. He also regularly exercises to make sure he never rocks that all too common dad bod. Number 5. Serge Nubrette. Serge Nubrette was a French bodybuilder, actor, author, WABA founder, and head of the IFBB France and Europe. He is also the only bodybuilder to hold 6 world titles in 4 federations. No wonder. He was called the Black Panther and the new Brit Lion. That man was fearless. Serge was at the top of his game during the 1950s, 60s and 70s. Even up until his death at 72 in 2011, he still had the body of a much younger man. In 1960 he joined the International Federation of Bodybuilders and fast became the world's most muscular man in Montreal. But he didn't just stop at one title. Serge won titles like Mr. Universe, Mr. World, and Mr. Olympia. At 65 years old he was still in fantastic condition, and did a final show for the public at the 2003 World Championships in France. All bodybuilders have workouts and routines that contribute to their physical condition, but Serge was known for a strange training regimen. He also had a weird diet which included eating about 4 pounds of horse meat every day. In 2009 Serge fell into a coma and died in 2011 of natural causes. Number 4. Chet Jorton. Chet Jorton entered natural bodybuilding by accident and because of an accident. But accident or not, he became one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time before his death in 2020 at age 81. After leaving high school, Chet was involved in a car accident that left him with a cut through his eyeball, cuts from his elbow to wrist, dislocated hips, and shattered thigh bones. Doctors wanted to remove his leg, but he wouldn't consent. Instead, he had steel plates and steel rods inserted to start the healing process. During this healing process, he ended up falling down some stairs and requiring even more surgery. He spent months in a wheelchair, and it was during his wheelchair-bound days in the hospital that he noticed dumbbells in the room. 7 months of use later, he had gained 55 pounds of muscle and was on his way to a successful bodybuilding career. He entered and won what seemed like every possible bodybuilding competition from Mr. America to the Pro Mr. World, Mr. California, and everything in between. He ended up dying on the same day as his wife after suffering a medical event while finding her dead. They left behind one daughter. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take me 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal: you just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribes button and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 15 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 3. Jeffrey Life. When you hear about famous bodybuilders, you picture them entering competitions as young men and eventually retiring with a body many people are jealous of. For Dr. Jeffrey Life, life was quite different. He was in his 60s or 70s before he took up bodybuilding. Before he started, he was suffering from heart problems and was borderline diabetic. He knew something had to change, so he started eating healthy and taking up bodybuilding. He also started taking a testosterone supplement which plays a role in muscle development and mental function. Comparing his new body to his old body, the two look like they come from very different people. This is, of course, because he is now treating his body like a temple. He performs several workouts throughout the week and eats simple meals with potatoes, chicken and Brussels sprouts. He doesn't eat bread or drink alcohol. Even though injecting himself with testosterone puts him at a risk of prostate cancer, so can unhealthy living. He could either live actively to an old age with an increased risk of cancer, or risk heart disease and diabetes, and live a less active and less happy life. Number 2. Jim Harrington. The world's oldest male bodybuilder is Jim Harrington from California, USA. For decades, this powerhouse has been competing in bodybuilding events and training like his life depends on it. When you learn about his childhood, you realize just how far he has come. When he was a child, he was slim and sick. People used to call him Skinny Bones. He discovered bodybuilding when he was 13 years old after seeing it in a magazine that put him on a journey to becoming a bodybuilder himself. He has dedicated his life to the sport, which has seen him compete in bodybuilding events throughout the United States. Even today, as he nears 90, Jim is still going strong. He still even trains. In 2014, he earned his pro card at the Masters National Championships with a first placing, and it also placed third in the same year. The year before, he took out bodybuilding Masters over 80 and Masters overall, and placed second in the Masters National Championships in 2012. His training isn't as intensive as it used to be, but he still has a regular schedule. Each week he dedicates 4 or 5 hours to exercise to keep himself fit and healthy. Number 1. Tony Pearson. Tony Pearson is an American bodybuilding champion in his 60s. He retired from bodybuilding in 1994, but he enjoyed a successful career with many individual and couples competition titles under his belt. Tony's start to life couldn't have been worse. His aunt raised him when his parents divorced, but she was unable to care for him properly. Years of abuse and neglect saw his school intervene, and he was placed in a group home. He happened to discover bodybuilding while recovering from a knee injury sustained while on his school's wrestling team. He realized that lifting weights was something he enjoyed, and the coaches around him saw his potential. Quickly, he was on his way to a bodybuilding career. The year 1976 marked his first win at the AAU Gold's Classic team, and the scene was set. He then started winning events every single year until he earned prestigious titles like Mr. America, Mr. USA, Mr. World, and Universe Pro. Even in his 50s, his love for bodybuilding hasn't wavered. He started trying guest posing and didn't officially retire until 1994. Now, he trains other people to become the best bodybuilders they can be. We all get old, but it's easy to forget that you can still be the same person you were in your younger years once you reach that grandpa status. Bodybuilders are no exception. Are you familiar with any of these bodybuilders, and have you ever dreamt of being like them? Let us know in the comment box. At the end of this video, subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.